Grouchy Gamer blog post, 8:01 p.m., February 16th. Honestly getting sick of this game and you guys. I can't seem to win with anyone. People are mad that I'm posting more about every single detail of this game than any other I've ever done a playthrough of before. People are mad that I've gone 3 days without posting anything. People are mad because they think I'm doing some sort of ARG bit. Some people are mad because they think this game is messing with my mental health. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to blitz through this game as fast as I can and just be done with it. I'm typing as I go with each phase, and I have a hard stop at 8 because I have to go out with some friends tonight, where I'm going to get blackout drunk and pass out without having images of these stupid infected fungal creatures in my head. Sound good? Too bad. It's what we're doing. I got through to the end of the tunnel. I grabbed the lantern and extra medkits from the alcove without waking that stupid giant spider person in there. The next room was called Waste Treatment Facility. It was probably the biggest area yet, and there were many different directions to go in. Immediately upon getting into the facility, there was an item on the ground called the Maintenance Hazmat. This seemed to increase my damage resistance, which was much needed as this place was crawling with enemies. Level 1 and 2 infected closed in on me no matter where I went. It seemed impossible to avoid the vast majority of them, so I simply triggered encounters one-on-one to avoid getting double attacks on their turns. This proved to be the most reliable strategy, as I still had a couple of medkits by the time I culled the population. I explored around and found a couple more medkits lying in some areas. I also found some computer terminals with more lore on them. Some of you whiners bemoan that I was short-handing all of the in-game information, so from now on I'll just be giving them all in full. Here they are in order of chronology. One of these appears to be written by a scientist, and the other written by just a regular survivor. Days since infection started, 15. I have started to document my research here in hopes that anyone who discovers it might be able to pick it up. I was a part of the team who unleashed this disaster onto the world, and the only thing I can do as penance is resolve it. I'm working to develop a natural predator to this species. If something can eat these creatures, and not humans, that may be our only way out of this. The second part of that is critical, though. I've started incubating one, using the various chemicals found in this waste treatment facility. Survivor's Log, Day 33. We've had the last area of intrusion boarded up, but I don't know how we'll repair it if anything happens again. We're critically low on anything to build with. These hazmat suits are the only thing that we think have been keeping us uninfected. We're low on food, low on morale. Some people have already started fleeing here. When groups of survivors came, they often brought food with them. It's a shame though, because without the additional hazmat suits, they always wound up getting infected. I think it can spread easily through the water. Days since infection started, 35. Things are not going well. We haven't had any stray survivors stumble in for about a week now. I've just about infected all of them to use as test subjects for my predator prototype, but nothing I've done works. No one suspects me yet, mostly because it's only been outsiders who get infected. However, as I run out of viable test subjects, I may have to turn to using the staff here. Once that happens, my secret will be out. I don't know they will see what I'm doing is justified in the name of saving humanity. Survivor's Log, Day 40. Holy shit. A guard on his patrol spotted one in the distance today. It was massive. Its limbs and vines extended all the way above the nearby buildings. A bright violet light seemed to be emitting from where its face was. It seems to scan the area with this light, looking for any organic life. It's so bright, and the smudges from my helmet only make it worse. I really need to take it off and clean it real quick. Days since infection started, 41. Deborah, one of the most valuable employees here, randomly became infected over the course of a day. That shouldn't have been possible without a deliberate injection, or intruding infected. Nonetheless, this gives me one last precious shot at creating the predator. That thing looming over us. By my calculations, it's on the 4th stage of its infection. Most creatures cap out at level 1 or 2, though a survivor from the sewer tunnels gave a description of what might be considered a level 3. By God, if he even exists. I hope my creation can consume that thing, and not the other way around. Days since infection started, 45. I've had to kill the others. Any removal of headgear or PPE seems to be an instant infection when in the radiance of that creature's light. They were unwilling to comply with my new safety procedures in light of that. I am starving, dehydrated, and my own smell might kill me before anything else. But I think I'm almost there. The egg has been incubated successfully. Exposing it to the creature's light has caused moss to grow on the outside, which seems to feed it. This is an incredibly good sign. If I can just hold out for a few more days. Days since infection started, 46. If you're reading this, it's up to you now. I am beset with infected of all kinds that I cannot continue to fight off in my state. Using an industrial cooler and an ingenious extraction of nitrogen from these creatures, I have sealed this egg in a makeshift cryo chamber. I've tested it. Due to the frigid exterior, the infected cannot get to it. My hope is that it can survive the freeze and one day be removed and fully incubated. It is on you, the reader, to make this happen. Though one warning, the infected seem to highly desire this egg. I suspect the concentration of its genetic material would make it highly valuable to them to consume. Do not let them get to it before it hatches. The fate of the world depends on it. Then that was all of it. Continuing to explore around the abandoned facility, it seemed that there was a small trickle of infected constantly spawning from somewhere in the area. I decided to follow the direction they came from, and before I knew it, I was at the far left corner of the map, staring at a mass of infected sprites seemingly trying to converge on this one item in the center of the room. Context clues made it obvious that this was the egg that the scientist alluded to. Seeing no other option to progress, I just decided not to waste any time and attempt to drill my way through every single one of these enemies, carefully positioning myself to only take on one of them at a time. However, as time went on, I just didn't have enough HP and medkits to withstand the horde. I proceeded to drop to 0 when facing a level 2 that I was hoping was a level 1. I reset the game before the cutscene would play. I've seen it before, no need to see what Mike had to say this time. Upon returning to the game, though, and hitting continue, it opened up on a scene of a level 2 infected ripping off the hazmat suit off of Redacted, and then going into the regular cutscene that would normally play. The text read, "There is no avoiding this enjoyment." I rolled my eyes, annoyed that there was a specific cutscene for having a different outfit on, annoyed that there was a specific message for trying to avoid the cutscene. I respawned in the entrance of the water treatment facility. At least I had a comfy save point past the tunnel. I seemed to be in slightly better shape than I originally emerged to, though I doubted it would be enough. I didn't know what it would take to defeat the massive swarm of enemies at the item I needed. I continued to explore the facility. Near certain windows, there would occasionally be a pale purple light that shone on specific tiles nearby. The survivor had described a gigantic creature outside the window, irradiating violet light from its eyes, which the scientist had described as a level 4 infected. I dared not step on the tiles based on the warning I had received in the logbook. I eventually got towards one room at the end of the facility, which had a keep out sign on it. Upon entering, it appeared to be a men's restroom. Only the first few tiles of the room were immediately visible. Using the lantern from the tunnel, I had the ability to walk around it. That was when I noticed a curious game mechanic. The lantern illuminates 3 tiles in every direction, including diagonal. However, if I stand in front of a mirror in the bathroom, down 2 and to the left, it will extend the light from my diagonal as if bouncing off from it. When selecting the mirror, I found that Redacted could pick it up off the walls and walk with it. This gave me an idea. I returned to one of the windows closest to the egg and set the mirror down in one of the tiles that the light would hit. As expected, a beam of light extended downwards, creating a path. I played around with seeing what would happen if I lured an infected onto the tile in the path of the violet ray. When the light turned on and engulfed the infected, it simply stood still, not moving every second as it normally did. When the light faded, the infected went back to normal. I attempted to initiate an encounter with the infected while it was in the light. During this once, I inadvertently messed up my timing and stood in the path of the light as it went through. This did a significant chunk out of my HP. However, the next time, when I lined it up correctly, I fought the infected, and just as I hoped, its sprite had changed, and it stood stiffly in the glow of the purple light. It never moved on its turn, and I could simply drill away at its HP until there was nothing left. This was clearly the solution to the puzzle I had been searching for. I just had to grab more mirrors from the bathroom and line them up as necessary to stun the infected for an easy victory. I returned to the bathroom to grab the second mirror. But nothing can be too easy, as the second I grabbed it, Redacted froze. The sink started to run with green sludge, and vines popped out of the floor tiles and vents, and an encounter started. The creature, called the Attendant, shown only in its sprite by a hollowed-eyed head from behind the bathroom mirror, glowed bright and seemed to writhe behind the wall. As it did this, vines from underneath grew closer and closer to the screen. This was similar to the tunnel spider, and I figured I could expect the same kind of antics from it. I went straight into my attacks, but they did paltry damage. To make things worse, when the creature attacked me back, it seemed to recover some of its health. It was only when I went to use my first medkit that I realized each attack it made, it swiped a medkit from me to heal itself. I knew there was no way I was going to win this, and eventually dropped to 0 HP. The cutscene that played showed the vines from the creature in the bathroom guide Redacted towards the sink. It turned on the irradiated, shiny green water and forced Redacted to drink it. All the while, the attendant watched, with its face behind the mirror. After time, Redacted was covered in the mossy substance and began to clean the bathroom? It scrubbed the floors and walls of the room with a fungal sludge, and as time went on, it got grimier, more covered in the moldy substance, and growing more and more. This nearly minute-long cutscene ended with the text, "So much to clean. So much clean fun to enjoy. I left you a gift." I just ignored it. I tried not to look at the cutscene while it was happening, but I just couldn't look away, as usual. There was something that drew in my eyes. I wanted to see what I had subjected Redacted to by losing. This one, in the grand scheme of things, wasn't even that disturbing. But the idea of Redacted being enslaved here, forced to spread this attendant's spores, it filled me with a kind of dread. I didn't want to know what Mike meant by a gift. Knowing now that certain death was behind mirror number 2, I tried my best to build out my network of mirrors without using that one. I got really close to the cluster of infected, but just wasn't able to reach them without one more mirror to bounce the light off of. I had tried everything, seeing if there were other locations with mirrors, seeing if any other parts of the walls were reflective, but nothing. I found no additional items to help boost my damage output against the attendant, but there was no way to proceed without having to fight that level 3. There was also no way to beat that level 3, as far as I could tell. I gave it one last shot, using all of my medkits before the encounter in a hope of not letting it recover HP off my stock, but it was no use. I lost again and was subjected to the same cutscene before reading new text that said, "Such a dirty person. Did you look at the gift yet?" Frustrated, I closed out of the game and went to finish typing this, but that was when I saw the gift. My computer background had changed to the layout of the bathroom in the cutscene. Redacted's face was obscured by the vines of the creature, as the attendant's hollow face seemed to bore into me from behind the screen. I shook my head with agitation at this cheap trick. I'm done with this game. I'm going out for the night. Grouchy Gamer blog post, 3:21 a.m., February 17th. The following post was riddled with typos. The following is the best legible transcription that could be put together. I don't want to play the game anymore, but I still play a game. I go back into the treatment facility. I find out what happens when you lose all of your HP by stepping into the light over and over again. As Redacted dropped to 0, a cutscene played where it stared at the window. In the distance, a large towering infected titan stood, its beaming purple eye light down on Redacted. Redacted slowly marched towards the creature mindlessly, as it called with a low growl. The text was red now, and it said, "It's almost time. Hand over the illicit spawn." Illicit spawn? What that means? Strange. Next, I wanted to find the give up animation for the attendant. I started the encounter and hit give up. Redacted walked over to the mirror, and the creature's vines whipped out from behind the walls to entrap him as he knelt. He was engulfed in the mossy substance, and the attendant used its vines to drag him, like a sponge, across the floor. Low groans Redacted made as he was pushed across the floor. The text, "Back to the normal white now," said, "I have updated your gift. I have made your enjoyment easier as well." I checked my computer background. The image had changed to Redacted being pressed on the floor like it was in the cutscene. All my desktop icons had been moved to the recycle bin, except for a new icon for the game. This was good. If you get an encounter when standing in the light, the infected can still fight you. I found that out. In the cutscene after losing, the infected drags Redacted to the window and makes him look directly in the face of the Titan. I don't really remember all the text or specifics. I did it so many times now in so many different combinations. I can't even remember the text. I wanted to use the mirror trick to line it up on the infected, encountering me all at once in the light. It took me like close to an hour, but I finally did it. Not wanting to miss the best one, I just hit give up to start the cutscene. The 4 infected surrounded kneeling Redacted. They each placed their hands on him and the fungus spread. Redacted stared out the window and then marched towards the facility, towards the hordes of them. It faded out, but the red text came back and it said, "Get the spawn, slave." But honestly, I don't know if I know how to. I don't think that I would. The post button appears to have been hit inadvertently. Grouchy Gamer blog post, 12:57 p.m., February 17th. Hungover as all get out, I genuinely don't remember making that post last night. not saying that any of this matters to you because you're all convinced this is some sort of fiction project anyway. I swear, I don't know why I keep doing this blog. I don't know why I keep playing this game. There's a select few of you who aren't so bad, I guess, though. Most notably, those of you who had the bright idea that I should try to line up the mirrors to point the light into the bathroom before I go in. That actually did work. I did take a little damage going in, but when I got in and I removed the mirror, the attendant was frozen in the encounter. However, it only seems like that lasts around 5 turns, which isn't enough, so I racked up another loss there. Stupid Smug Mike had something specifically made for that too. Look at this. Clever one, but you won't escape the enjoyment. Enjoyed this, enjoyment that, what a dork. I'm so sick of him. Honestly, I don't really remember it, but the red text that I described last night sounded kinda rad. Like that giant colossal infected was speaking directly to me. I didn't appreciate it giving me orders, but I'm kind of curious to see what the deal is with this whole egg thing. It didn't take me long to solve Mike's stupid puzzle. When the attendant is frozen, the run option works as programmed for the first time in this crappy horror game. So I got the mirror out of the bathroom, lined them all the way up to the horde of the infected, and I started chopping them down one by one as the light was on them. To be honest, I can't follow the mechanics behind this light to save my own life, given the in-universe explanation. The giant infected titan beams it out, and it turns people into infected. That much makes sense, and that's a logical extension of the infection levels, like it's getting a new ability. It also kind of makes sense that it makes Redacted obey the creature, as if it's the central network of the hive mind that controls all the infected. So what I don't get is why the infected turn into statues when they get hit by it. And based on my drunk reporting last night, it's only like that if you're not in the light with them. And then what's the deal with this egg? It gets incubated by the purple light, and it's supposed to hatch into some sort of infected-eating beast? But also the big old master infected wants me to bring it to them? None of it really adds up to me. Either way, to finally get this show on the move, I hacked through the infected surrounding the item and acquired, drumroll please, infected egg. Upon doing this, a portion of the wall to my left caved in, and created a way out of the facility. The next area was called Urban Wasteland. It seemed like a mix of desert alongside ruins of the city from before. It was a long, thin area, with a lot of horizontal space to move, but not much vertical space. The buildings sticking out of the sandy terrain seemed to cast shadows down from the sun, oriented to the right side of the map. As with everything in Microorganic Mayhem, I soon found this aesthetic decision was not merely aesthetic, as a wave of purple light engulfed the screen and I took massive damage to my HP before realizing I needed to hide behind the building shadows to avoid getting hit. Easy enough. It seemed like, much like the tunnel lighting, this was on a very predictable schedule. It was 10 seconds of regular light, followed by 5 seconds of the purple infected light. I was getting the hang of it when I started to notice there was a stream of infected following behind. This meant that any steps that I made that were not maximally efficient caused them to catch up with me, and eventually I stepped out too early from cover because of this pressure and dropped to 0 HP. The cutscene played as Redacted looked back towards the undestroyed part of the city. The Titan infected stood, beaming its controlling hollow eyes down towards me. Redacted dropped the egg on the ground and proceeded to walk towards the Titan slowly. The red text appeared and said, "Fool, now I will never get the egg. Try again." Kind of rude considering it's the main obstacle stopping me from getting to it. I tried again, but this time I was caught in a bad spot by a level 2 infected who managed to get me while I was low on HP. I was relieved to find that the cutscene played out as normal, so there was nothing that tripped me up about that. On my third attempt, I had really gotten the hang of weaving in and out of the buildings and dodging the infected. It almost seemed too easy now. However, after what felt like not even that long of traversing, a message showed up on my screen. The infected egg has shattered. The game continued as normal, but something didn't feel right. There had to be a way to keep that egg from doing that. I rebooted it and it let me start without any strange shenanigans. I went to the treatment facility. I paced around in there for a while, trying to mimic about as many steps as I had taken outside of it. It took a while, but eventually the text appeared again, saying the same thing. I restarted once more, this time evaluating the egg in my inventory. When I selected it, I realized I had the option to drop it. Doing so, placed it on the tile that Redacted was facing. I had a thought. I placed it in the light, after about half as many steps as it took previously. I left it there for a few cycles of the light, then I picked it back up again. As I anticipated, I was able to continue walking with it. The light had helped incubate the egg, and it was necessary for it to continue staying alive. I did some experimentation, finding that 4 seconds of light exposure to the egg roughly correlated to recovering half the steps that seemed to wear away at its countdown towards its inevitable demise. So the new plan was to add one more stupid hurdle into my path as I tried to navigate through the stupid desert in the stupid urban wasteland area. I would get as far ahead towards the shadow as I could, right before the light started, plop the egg down, wait for it to stop, pick it back up, and continue on. All the while trying to avoid every single infected that was coming after me. This was going to be another example of the game demanding frame-perfect overworld navigation from me. Unfortunately, on the first time I really messed that up, and found myself in an encounter with a level 1 that was immediately going to be followed by 2 more encounters. Rather than die on a sinking ship, I simply made use of the handy give up button as a way of resetting, since the level 1 cutscene didn't unsettle me that much. Did you guess the stupid error I made? Yeah, that's right. Holding the infected egg and giving it up has its own specific cutscene to it, because of course it does. In it, the kneeling redacted hands over the egg to the level 1 infected, and the creature immediately cracks it open and devours the insides. The infected glows a bright green, and aggressive weed and plant growth seems to burst out of it as it reaches out and forces the same effect onto Redacted. Redacted's body just seems to melt into the overgrowth, and before the cutscene fades to black, a small garden seems to envelop the two in an otherwise barren landscape. And then the lovely text reads, "Good, now go and explore all the other great new things to enjoy." No, 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 no. I'm done with this game. I'm not doing this. I'm not going back to find every stupid unique cutscene. It's not happening. I'm not doing it. This game and its weird creepy game over sequences have eaten enough of my time. If you're reading this, Mike, you can go screw yourself. Screw yourself and your stupid screwy game. Grouchy Gamer blog post, 1:36 p.m., February 17th. I don't know why I keep doing this. Someone please stop me.